Oh, I guess we just do it like this. So, let's bring them all in. So Apollo set a huge standard for what we were capable of, and now NASA is looking to make the next giant leap, deeper into the solar system and putting people on Mars. You know, it's a ways away. There's a lot that needs to be done between now and then. I know we're all in a hurry. Everybody's already tweeting, wanting to get selfies, hashtag spring break on Mars, but it's going to take a minute, and that's what we want to talk about. So, gosh, where do I want to start here? Hey, Jim, I've got a question for you. What have we learned? What have we learned about Mars so far? We've sent a bunch of robotic spacecraft there. What have we learned? Is there life there? How soon can humans get there? Not technologically, but like from a healthy bio standpoint. When can we get there?
Well, you know, from the science perspective.
Oh, wait, get into that microphone.
Yes. All right. Okay.
Lip up to it like Eminem. Just get like.
What we've been doing scientifically with our three orbiters, we're sharing one with the European Space Agency, and the two live rovers right now, which is Opportunity and Curiosity, is learning about Mars and its resources. And what we're finding is Mars in its past went through an enormous global change. It had a huge amount of water. It's lost most of that water, but a significant amount of it is underground. So from a resource perspective, when the astronauts go and they want to bring their water, we're going to tell them, bring a straw, because we know where to go. So from a scientific point of view, yes, that's... So from a scientific point of view, we're also looking at the history of Mars. We're also looking for resources for which humans then would be able to live off the land. And we've made enormous progress in that area. And we have to do that. Planetary scientists are the tour guides, so to speak, are the pioneers that go out first. Unfortunately, going to Mars is not like Star Trek. It's not like go where no human has gone before. The scientists have to be there. We have to learn everything because we're planning to go to stay.
Yeah, it's exciting. So Mike, I'm pretty excited to talk to you, man. So Mike is he was on the space station a bunch of times, twice, once as the commander, and he also flew on the final space shuttle flight, Endeavour, the last one before Atlantis, yeah? So 381 days in space, 48 hours, 37 minutes, 9 spacewalks, crushing it, just crushing it. What do you think? What do you think is so important about that? Like, I know I want to spend time on the ISS, but what do you think is so important about us going up there and doing science? What's the value of that?
Oh, man. So first off, I'd like to say that this is the first time NASA's been to Comic-Con. And we're all big fans like you guys are, and this is what's really neat about Comic-Con and NASA. It's a natural fit because we actually, there's a lot of fantasy and fiction and inspiration and all the good parts of humanity, using our minds to imagine a brilliant, different, awesome future, and that's what we do at NASA. We try to bring that home. All right, and that's what we did. We had this imaginary space station in the movie 2001. There's other imaginary space stations out there, and then we believed it, like we fell for it, and it's like we can build one of those, and we did. We've built this International Space Station. It's in orbit around a beautiful planet Earth, and one of the coolest planets in the solar system. Mars is awesome. Not just saying planet Earth is really cool. We go around planet Earth at 17,500 miles an hour once every 90 minutes, and when you take gravity out of a scientific equation because it's so dominant, all of a sudden you learn a whole bunch of other things. We learn about the human body. We learn about combustion. Already we're making more and better efficient engines like gasoline engines and stuff because we understood it aboard, we learned about it aboard the space station. We have other instruments that are looking out to the whole universe, and we're learning about dark matter. And every time the human beings have learned more about our universe, we've made life here better on planet Earth. I love electricity. Well, those guys like...
I'm a big fan of Velcro.
Love it. So we every time, so it makes us better and makes life here better on planet Earth. And space station is one first step. We have a home base right around here about our own planet. It's easy enough to get up there, in a day and come back in a day. Those kind of things. And so it's great to have a home base as we get ready to explore the rest of the universe.
Yes. Right? So, but
say that Earth is cool?
Earth is awesome. It's my favorite planet.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Earth
Jim.
rules, guys. Are you kidding me?
Well, Pluto used to be the coolest planet, but
No. Pluto blew it, guys. Pluto blew it. Wait, Bobak, I have to ask you, because you're probably one of the few humans that has landed a car on Mars. And I'm just curious, because I remember when I was trying to get my permit to drive, they made me do all kinds of parallel parking and just nonstop lessons and which way is the yielding thing. So was that just the coolest, man, when you dropped that car?
It's pretty cool. Actually, I got my driver's license the same time I started working at JPL.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I now have 2 driver's licenses, one for Mars and one for Earth.
Stop it. I'd want one really badly. Wait, but tell me, because Curiosity's been on Mars 2 years now. We've learned a lot. What do you think are some of the primary things that we've learned?
So, I mean, obviously one of the really cool things, like Jim mentioned, Mars has this incredible past where we think it was habitable at one point, meaning that life could have survived. We don't know if it existed then, and that's some of the questions we still want to answer. But also, we're really learning to be like great detectives about Mars. Like, we landed with Curiosity. We thought we knew what we were doing. Like, we got this, guys. And then it turns out Mars has all these tricks up its sleeve, and the rover has its own personality. Yeah, it's not as easy as you think, dealing with a child on Mars. But we went there and we learned all these cool things. We basically found out that we had capabilities on the rover that we hadn't even anticipated. We can do essentially like isotope dating, like carbon dating on Mars now. And that's something we didn't know we even could do when we launched this mission. That's the crazy part. So now we're going there with these new tools, these new thoughts about how to approach Mars, and not only gonna find where the cool stuff is on Mars with our rover, but hopefully lead to the next rovers having the right set of instruments to even start looking for life.
It is so interesting because there was such a concerted effort to get off the planet, to land on the moon. And since then, because the political interests don't seem to be as aligned with it, there seems to be less interest, not only from government organizations, but from the people themselves to explore, to travel, to hit those milestones. If you think that this is the 45th anniversary of the splashdown of Apollo, where are we going to be in 50 years? I like to think that we'll be light years ahead just because of the exponential growth of technology. But it's going to be up to us, guys. It's going to be up to us as a species being interested in doing that. If they're not going to build it unless we're going to go. So, Jim, that's actually something I want to ask you about. What future missions are planned? What do you think that they will do that something like Curiosity on the ground right now can't do?
Well, we're currently building another rover very much like Curiosity. We use that crazy sky crane to land it, and we can put 1 ton down on the ground. And we're scouting out right now some of the best sites. Those sites for which Mars, during 3.5 billion years ago, was more Earth-like than any other time in its history. And so we're going to do some rock coring. We're going to look and interrogate those cores and potentially bring them back. And that's like we did on the moon, brought back samples, and those samples from the moon have really told us a lot about the origin and evolution of the Earth-Moon system. So that's our next big step.
That's really exciting. Wait, Buzz, I got to ask you, because you're the only person in this room that's met Optimus Prime. I've seen, I grew up just idolizing you, man. You're the coolest. And so when I saw that first video of you walking on the moon, all I could think, even as a child, was, wow, he just looks like he's skipping. And so I want to know, do we blame the lead shoes? Was that about the weight of the gravity? Or were you just like, yeah, I'm on the moon?
who had red shoes?
Well, you're the only one you've stepped up onto the surface. So that experience, that must have been.
I know. Well, Bruce McCandless said you got to get back inside pretty soon. So I was thinking ahead, and I got in front of the camera, and so I started doing a kangaroo hop, and then move and change direction with a big heavy backpack. On Earth, we'd weighed 360 pounds, but up there it's only 60 pounds. So when you go to turn, why, you and stuff on you wants to keep going. Some guy by the name of Newton came up with that silly idea.
That whack job.
So anyway, I thought for sure, as soon as I got back, people were going to say, "Oh, we measured all your movements up there," and they came out not a word. 10 years later, some Japanese guy came up to me and says, "I had my stopwatch on while you were doing that, and it came out just like I had calculated." And I thought, finally, somebody really...
Wait, Buzz, a lot of conversation has been had about Ellen DeGeneres' Oscar selfie, but you've taken the greatest selfie ever.
Yeah, but there was a shadow across my face.
Listen,
But
it's hard to get the lighting right your first time out.
Well, Lovell had to move the spacecraft around. But this is ultraviolet, no less. I mean, how many selfie claimers today?
I think Android's trying to run that ultraviolet program, but they've been beta testing it. I don't think iPhone has it yet. There's probably an app, if we really think about it. Wait, so Bobak, I'm going to ask you, humans and robots, like that's the future. And I'm not talking about like wearables or body mods or anything, but humans and robots, that's really the future. And in these situations where it's too dangerous for us to send a person, we're going to send robots. Yeah. So what do you think that looks like as we get further and further out into the solar system? How soon till I can party with my own C-3PO?
I mean, the ISS already has a handful of robots. There's Dexter, there's a Robonaut, there's Kirobo. I mean, Kirobo's like the cutest, by the way.
Dexter is kind of a dubious name for the guy in waiting on the space station, by the way.
It's also creepy because he's at the end of the canadarm, so he looks like there's just a guy floating kind of out there with his little hands. But you know, the idea that these guys have already kind of started living with robots. You guys, I mean, you've had some of that experience. But I think the future, you know, we have. Certainly, even from Mars, we have the idea that we would send humans and robots together. Robots could, you know, start exploring, could start, you know, looking for the preliminary setup of a camp, you know, for humans before they get there, and then you would keep operating them to produce, you know, food and water and on supplies like that. And then, of course, places beyond Mars, really, that's the kind of places where it's still really not safe for humans. Its timelines are long. You know, radiation gets really harsh as you go further away, especially like, you know, near planets like Jupiter. And so, you know, we'll continue with the robotic exploration past Mars, and hopefully, you know, in the near front, we get all these cool robots and kind of live-in work buddies. Mike, I don't know, you have a couple of things probably to say about living with robots.
You don't mean my former crewmates, right? No, yeah, that's it just goes to show that you know, humans, we're pretty clever, and when we put our minds to it, we can actually figure out how to make things work better, more efficiently, and have robots. And of course, you know, just like you were saying, it's that connection again with science fiction and with fantasy. We can't imagine a future without robots, and partially is because we've already imagined really cool futures with robots. So they're definitely going to be to stay, you know, around to stay. And like you said, Seth, the technology keeps expanding exponentially. Well, partially because of the space program.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then generationally, we are innovating consistently. Like every time a kid is born in a time past the innovation of touchscreen, they're able to improve on that. So that's what I'm excited about. I always just try and keep people knowing that this is possible and accessible to us. But that's actually a really good question. In the last few years, since the shuttle program has been retired, which I think is a huge misconception, people thought that NASA was canceled or something, but really just that shuttle program, which was always a test vehicle and a very expensive mission, was retired in favor of, you know, basically crowdsourcing innovation to find a less expensive, more viable means off the planet. Because everybody knows NASA's budget is really, really small, and so they can't spend the money to actually make the improvements. But when you turn it over to the private companies and they're competing, that's where you actually get real innovation. So are we nearing, aren't we close? It feels like we're very close to a future where spaceflight's more accessible to the average person.
Yeah, so yeah, double microphone on this one.
We've only got like 7 extras. If you guys want to.
So no, this is what NASA's doing right now. We have a big picture plan of with the low Earth orbit by making it accessible. And we're doing that with our private industry partners, and it's really exciting. It's called the Commercial Crew Program, and that's going to allow NASA to spend our time, effort, money to look beyond low Earth orbit, because we know we have it under control down here with our private industry, and then that'll help us with our Ryan capsule aboard the SLS rocket, and that'll get us to.
But that's a model.
There's
awesome
a model right there.
Here.
I mean, besides him, so. That's part of it. So let's talk a little bit about the Commercial Crew Program. Right now, we have 3 different companies that are working towards getting access to low Earth orbit. They have different concepts out there. One's a winged vehicle. There's 2 other companies with capsule ideas. They're being brilliant about it. It's going to reduce the cost. It's going to keep things safe so we can send people. And with the cost reduction, we're hoping that a whole new industry, like we did with the airplane just 100 years ago. Airplanes used to be only flown by government pilots, and only the governments had airplanes. And now, now there's a whole industry out there where we can, with the airplane ticket for like $1,200, you can go anywhere on this planet within 24 hours. Maybe except Antarctica, but I mean, that's the industry. And by the way, it's one of America's biggest exports are airplanes and aerospace kind of things. So this is good for our country. It's good for the planet. And we at NASA are giving our technical know-how to these companies, as well as some seed money, and they're running with it. And
that's how they made the Connect system so good. You open source it.
There's a lot to be said for that. 2017, we're hoping to send humans off of this planet off of American soil with one of our industry partners or several of our industry partners. We'll see how the contracts all come.
Every single time I see Elon Musk, I ask him if they're taking names yet for that list, because there's 7 seats on that capsule, 4 of which are astronauts and 3 are civilians. And he keeps saying, we're not keeping a list yet. And I just said, I'm on that list. I'm on that list.
And you're going to be on that list, and a lot of you guys are going to be on that list too. That if we've done our job right, and we're working on it every day at NASA, if we've done our job right, that'll be the future that we're going to see in the next 15 or 20 years, and it's an exciting one. And that allows NASA, and then we can talk more about the Orion and going to CIS. Means near lunar space, and then heading off to Mars, because we're going to have a rocket big enough to take us there.
It's just time, really. It's just time and figuring it out, and everybody being interested in doing it. If everybody collectively said, "Hey, I want a Marriott on the moon," there'd be a Marriott on the moon, guys, and we'd all figure out a way to get there. And it's not in a space elevator, I can tell you that. But how do you guys respond? And this is really for everybody. How do you respond when people say sending humans to Mars? It's too risky. It's too expensive. Lose a lot of life, spend a ton of money. Why? Everything's great here. Our planet's awesome. We got Comic-Con and Six Flags.
In the last 50 years...
Cronuts, I mean... Okay. Earth rules, guys. Why?
Yeah, all right, Earth rules, okay. And in the last 500 million years, there's been 5 mass extinctions. And many of our scientists and a lot of our engineers and others, even astronauts, have said, a single planet species is not destined to survive.
That was Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, Stephen, and also a number of astronauts too, and you probably have said that at least once in your life, I'm sure.
He was quoting you, Buzz.
No, I told him not 200 years, about 30 years.
But indeed, it's all about exploring. It's all about taking the solar system. The solar system is ours. Let's take it. If we're going to move out, let's take those steps. And Mars is that next logical step for human exploration. We can do this. It's going to be hard, but we're going to be methodical. We're going to be able to put down the infrastructure that we need. We're going to be able to live off the land where we can, and we're going to colonize that planet. And then we're going to move on.
Can I add one? I think one thing.
Oh no, you can applaud that. That's pretty exciting.
I think one really cool thing about Mars and even the space station today is people kind of fail to realize that these are really tough things to do, that they have to reuse resources, they have to be better custodians. And so the lessons we learn from ISS and from going to Mars and making people survive in places where we can't just get supplies to them with FedEx, that's the kind of lessons that we also need to learn here on Earth. And I think, Mike can probably talk to this too. Like, we have a tiny, of course, I haven't been off the planet, guys, so I don't know what it's like. But, when you look back, I think at our planet, you realize kind of the perspective of it all. And even with the robotic vehicles, when I see like the little speck in the sky that's Earth, it's a very powerful movement, like feeling for me. But I think realizing that this exploring space helps make us be better citizens of our own planet is also a really cool part of the whole process. So we can all be like good neighbors.
I like that. Buzz, you got advice? I'm sure some of these people want to be astronauts, and I'm sure the whole industry is going to evolve, but like, what did it take? And Mike, you can respond to this too, but what did it take for you? Like, when did you decide that you wanted to be an astronaut? Were you little, or were you like a teenager?
What?
Were you like dodging the draft? I'm just kidding. Are you kidding? This is an American superhero. I'm just kidding.
I had a good friend at West Point, a year behind me, Ed White, and he called me up and said, hey, they're going to have a new selection in 1962. And I went and got my 2-year master's at Michigan, and then I went through the test pilot school, and I'm testing airplanes now at Wright-Patterson. And I said, well, Ed, I can shoot gunnery much better than you can, and I'm at MIT now. And what's this being a test pilot? They don't really care about that. I'm going to apply too, see? So he got picked, and I didn't. But they changed their mind the next year and wanted some people with a little bit more smarts. No, Ed was a great pilot. Great, probably would have been one of the first guys on the moon if it was up to me and a lot of other people. In 45 years, the robots have improved quite a bit. Now, I want you to tell me how much smarter is the human being now in 45 years? About the same, right? Okay. So we need to rely on robots a little more. Now, here's an interesting piece of information. I asked Steve Squires. No, I didn't ask him. He told me. I said I want to land something right on the bottom side. I don't know what you call that, of Phobos. So we can look down and watch the landing site and build things there. And he said, well, you just tell me where you want it, and I'll put it there for you. Well, he is a smart guy from Cornell, but I think one of the smartest things he told me was, now, when we put spirit and opportunity on opposite sides of Mars, maybe 11, 12 years ago, whenever it was, they were built to last 90 days, okay? After 5 years, Spirit got stuck. Opportunity's still working. So what he did, take the first 5 years where both of them are doing their thing, and we're telling them what to do one day at a time. And so they plod through whatever they're doing. We have a pretty good record of what they did in 5 years. And he said, now, what they did in 5 years could have been done in 1 week if we had human intelligence in orbit around Mars.
Yeah.
Now, stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
I think that's the biggest thing that people forget.
That tells you something about how we're going to go and visit and do things. And we've got to get people to the orbit of Mars and sustain them there so that they can build a place to live.
I saw
and it may
some
take
pretty cool
a good
machines.
while to build it. And we may need to get them there and bring them back. Another group, bring them back. By the third group, they're probably pretty well finished. Now, they know more about what they've been building down there because, see, we decided what we wanted at the moon, not at Mars. And we learned how to do that on the big island of Hawaii through geosynchronous satellite to Houston. We brought these things together and assembled them in a complex way, and then redesigned them and all that. So that's what we're going to do for these guys. Now, the third group that goes there, they know
I'm on that group.
They know more about what is down there than anybody on the world. So they're going to be the first guys to land, however many, 2, 4, 6, just before the cycler delivers, get this, 18 people per mission.
All right, I'm one of those 18.
I'll explain it later.
Wait, Bobak, you can speak to this, because I was out at JPL, and we looked at a bunch of developing technologies, and one of the things that I saw that was most impressive is that big crab thing on multiple wheels. So this is an amazing device. You can probably describe it in more detail, but I'll give you the layman's of it. It is a big metal circle with a bunch of arms. Each one of the arms has 2 wheels. Each one of those arms comes up independently, and they're the wheels that it supports on, or that it's supported by, but each one of them is also a tool, a screwdriver, means of assembly. And so this thing is eventually meant to land on the surface, remove its payload, and then construct habitats on the surface. And so between that 3D printing and all these other technologies that are getting invented just in these last 5 years that are really, like, the future looks pretty good. What do you think it's actually going to look like when we get a mission there?
Yeah, I mean, I think this, he's talking about Athlete, which is this all-terrain, hexagonal, was it extraterrestrial explorer?
Yeah, they worked real hard to make it Athlete.
Yeah, we look for those acronyms at NASA a lot.
That's sort of like Cobra coming up with some of their acronyms.
But yeah, the idea is, with the Apollo missions, right, we were limited, even with the rover, how far you could go away from the lander, because you had to be able to walk back to the lander should something break. But the idea for the future, if we want to explore a planet, is to be able to take our home essentially with us wherever we go. Basically, you think RV on Mars. And so the Athlete is designed to do that. It's supposed to be this vehicle that can come pick up your little habitat and drive along with you. And explore. So I think the future will look like that. It'll be a bunch of RVs that kind of get to move around, and you look like a caravan.
And then after we've settled, we all get to pilot them during spring break on Mars! I'm trying to lock that hashtag, and no one's following. Yeah, Mike, I would take you on any vessel, absolutely.
I'm an excellent driver.
I would crew with you any day.
You have the driver's license. Yeah, I'll be the
driver. I'll take driver, guys.
Right,
yeah.
But that's actually a good question. So I would go in a second. The no return of it option right now is kind of a negative, just because I've got a lot of things here that keep me here. But considering it like a multi-year trip, sort of like when we were colonizing, when we as a species were branching out off of our little islands and peninsulas and continents to find our way to other ones. That took months. It took years. A lot of people died. It was developing technologies. There was a time when we were all on horseback. So, you know what I mean? We've come a long way. Would you go?
I don't want to leave Earth. I like it here. I'm happy to send robots. They do a great job. They take nice pictures.
Even if you could go to the moon, like you can go to Cancun, wouldn't you go?
I mean, as long as I can come back, or if there's a Starbucks somewhere there.
No. You can bring those powdered to-go packs and just put it in some water and start up.
Then we're good. Yeah, I'm ready.
Mike, would you go? Do you want to get back out? Do you want to get back out there?
Oh, I'd go in a heartbeat, and there are some days at home where my wife would send me in a heartbeat. So, but yeah, and yeah, it would be great if I could bring my family along, because I kind of like them. And but that isn't that it, right? That we're going to be pioneers as we go. We're not going to be just
we're that generation though,
and we'll build new cities and new places all over our solar system, and that's what we're supposed to do, and that would be humanity at its best.
I like to think there will be a time in 100 years when people will be like, how did they not want to get out there? Gosh, they just had to work through to get there. Jim, would you go? Oh, Buzz, absolutely.
In about 10 years, maybe 15, everyone who's selected as an astronaut is going to have to sign a piece of paper that if they are successful, they're going to spend the rest of their life on the surface of Mars.
Do we get extra pay for that?
I think it's the equivalent of like weekend golden time.
As far as the government's concerned.
I think the non-return is like equivalent of union golden time.
$4 on Mars?
Jim, would you go?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. When you take a look at what we see on Mars, it's absolutely phenomenal. There are shield volcanoes the size of the state of Missouri. There's huge canyons that if it sat in the United States would go from LA to New York, for which any one of the tributaries would make the Grand Canyon look like a piker. The vistas that we observe and the things that we see on that planet and how it's evolved are absolutely spectacular. Those are vistas we always want to see. Those are those things on the other side of the mountain that our early pioneers did as they moved on and colonized the United States. You know, when we explore, we do science. And when we do that, we explore to survive. And that's the next step, going to Mars. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm down, man. That is it's an interesting question because, you know, we only live in our own lifetime, and so it's hard to imagine things that came tens of millions of years before us. But when you talk about what Mars might have looked like, isn't it possible that it was very similar to Earth, that it was incredibly similar? So as we get there, not that we haven't completely done all the archaeology we need to do on our own planet, but when we get there, we're going to find some really cool stuff.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
You know, Curiosity is sitting in a place that hasn't changed in 3.5 billion years. It's literally in a location where it's gone back in time. And what we found with Curiosity is that that location had an enormous amount of water, fast-moving water. In fact, that water could have been drinkable if we were there at the time. If microbes lived at that time, they would flourish and survive. So we don't really know if there's life on Mars in the past. There may even be life on Mars today. There's vast amounts of water and underground aquifers. We see during the summertime certain craters literally weep with briny water flowing down the edges of these craters.
So that's going to be a water slide, guys.
It's going to be a water slide.
That's going to be like an Atlantis resort.
And it would be huge because they're more than a football field in length. So these are fabulous vistas.
You'd have to cross your legs on the way down.
On Mars, there will be life on Mars by 2040. Yeah. 2 decades from the 50th anniversary of some guys kicking up dust on the moon.
Leaving their graffiti everywhere.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, come on. What do you think? I feel like this is probably the time when we let the crowd ask you guys what they want to ask you. There's a microphone here. I would say be civil. Be civil. Don't rush. We probably won't get to everybody, but we're going to give it a try. Oh, wait, you want to hike this back a little bit? Can you see them? There you go. Can you see the questions now? Killer. Yes, you in the cape. Oh, wait, hold on. Is the mic on? Check it. Almost there? Nope. Microphone. Is there a switch on it? Seems to be on. Check. Here, wait. Come here. Oh, the cord.
That would help. Hello?
Yes.
There we go.
Hi, my name is
All right, let's hear it.
Hi, my name is Rowan.
Hi.
What made you go to space?
To
Buzz
to Mike.
To Buzz Aldrin.
Yes, sir.
And
Hearing aids, but,
she said, "What made you want to go to space? Like when they asked you, what made you want to go?"
what inspired you?
higher, faster, further. And then it was okay to come back.
They were for sure going to get you back there.
I'd like to jump in on that just a second because today we're remembering 45 years ago. Well, I was 2.5 years old, so you can do the math, right? I was watching Buzz walk on the moon. And sir, you, Neil, and then the other Apollo guys after you guys inspired me. I remember all the Apollo missions after 11, and then I also remember Skylab, and that inspired me. And I'm hoping that what we do today is inspirational to the next generation of explorers.
Thank you.
Does that mean that's a yes? You'll sign that piece of paper?
Hi, my name's Eric. I just want to say first off, Buzz, you connect really well with the millennials. Like, you were on Reddit doing an AMA. Like, you connect really well with us, and I think that's incredibly important. What kind of opportunities do you see? You talked about, an 18-person crew going to Mars. What opportunities are there for people who are not scientists or people who are not astronauts and trained that way to actually be able to embark on these missions or get to be a part of these things? And that question's for all of you, too.
Let me answer part of that. I didn't imply 18 people on one spacecraft. How about 6 people on 3 spacecraft? What was his question?
He wanted to know the normal citizen, when would they go?
Oh, yeah. Timing-wise, it's...
If I were you, I would maybe buy some stock in X-Corps.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that plane. It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Their vehicle's cool.
Well, it's not a good business plan. One plane, one passenger.
No, but that's more like a woohoo.
You just wait and see what their future plans are.
I'm excited about that. It's gonna be outposts and gas stations and landers all over. We're gonna be landing on asteroids like Ben Affleck. It's gonna be awesome.
Hi.
Yes.
My name's Dina.
Hi, Dina.
Buzz, in your book, Mission to Mars, which I was hoping to get you to sign, there are many visionary ideas that seem to be a game plan for a step-by-step exploratory development of the moon, near-Earth objects like asteroids, and then Mars. And I'm wondering if you have seen any progress in the stepping stone projects to that evolution, like the Sentinel project or the asteroid-bound missions like President Obama spoke about in the 2010 space speech, about asteroid-bound missions by 2025. Have you seen progress in any of these things?
Well, I was just talking to the expert scientist over here about what the president did say in April of 2010. He said, send a human mission to an asteroid. I thought that was a damn good idea because the reason that I put it and 3 other missions in my submission a year before to Norm Augustine's commission was to check out the spacecraft between it being at the libration points of the moon and before we had confidence to put people on the moon of Mars for 1.5 years. So there were a number of things. It was that mission to an asteroid was better than a mission to vacuum in space, okay? It goes to see something, it does something, but it doesn't learn a whole lot about an asteroid unless you do something else, and that's what I'm trying to tell people now. Before the human mission gets there, you dispatch a robot on a 1.5 year mission checking out its solar electric propulsion, and that son of a gun gets there 2 days after the humans get there, in about 3 months, and they stay for 60 days, and then they come back in a year. So you've taken 2 missions. One, a robotic mission to an asteroid, which is greatly limited by the communication time from Earth to the asteroid to tell what the robot should do and then come back again. You take a human mission there, and they can't do a whole lot. They got to come back in 60 days. But you take 2 missions and put them together on the same asteroid, and man, you make both of them tremendously improved.
Anybody who's seen Star Trek knows you don't take a ship out without an astromech. Like that's just the way it goes. There's a couple of private companies that are also developing things like asteroid mining to try, because they're just huge chunks of resources basically orbiting our planet. And so instead of us tearing apart our own planet for small scraps of things, we can go up to space and find things that are the size of Texas and then mine them.
Well, thank you, and thank you
Right
for
on.
your service to our country. Thank you.
Cheers. Guys, we have less than 15 minutes left in this panel, but I'll bet we can get through all these questions.
Okay, I'll be quick then. So, gentlemen, quick question. How would you describe the feeling the first time you became weightless in space?
So, while Buzz is remembering,
my name isn't Zimmerman.
Buzz is, I think we both shared that the first time you get into orbit is just as cool as the second time and beyond, because when you see the planet Earth, when you feel weightless, English has a really cool word, breathtaking. I couldn't breathe for 30 seconds. I was so happy. Buzz, how was it on your first time in space? What was your feeling once you reached orbit?
Did the weightlessness in actual space compare to the simulated weightlessness that you guys trained under?
Well, I was the first guy to take a suggestion by some guys in Baltimore that maybe we could simulate weightlessness in neutral buoyancy in a water tank. Having been a scuba diver for almost 10 years before that, I knew that that would work very, very well. On the mission that I was on, Gemini 12, we did have the #1 Air Force experiment in the whole Gemini program, the Astronaut Maneuvering Unit. And I really look forward to being able to activate that with all the things that I'd practiced in the swimming pool in Baltimore. And I was very confident that I could do that. Now, it's my second worst mistake is that I allowed NASA to cancel that major maneuvering unit. Instead, I was doing a bunch of Mickey Mouse things. The foot restraints were much better. It's a fantasy land when you first get into space. Things float around and you do all sorts of things with gumdrops or so.
But nobody tells you about like the strength against inertia, though. Like everyone talks about weightlessness as if it's like woo and so beautiful. But I did one of the zero-G flights that achieves weightlessness through parabolas, and you have full faculty of your strength, and you can move like a ninja. You just have no weight on you. So it's chaos. It's just like chaos. And then the slightest touch of something sends it far across your vessel. So you really have to be just about as still as possible for things not to be haywire.
When you're underwater, you don't fight the current. You align yourself. You do things in a very delicate way. It is not a place for brute force that gets you tired and sweaty and all that.
Right on.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. So according to the Fermi paradox, colonization of the galaxy should have happened by somebody else already.
Oh, it already did in an alternate timeline. We split off, yeah, like sliding doors. We're in like, I don't know how to calculate the dimension, but we are somewhere over here, and then the us colonizing is over here. So somewhere in between, there's like 700,000 instances.
Or like infinite
possibility.
instances. Yeah. Why do you think the colonization of our system by us will be successful, or why haven't we met anybody yet?
Okay.
That's a.
I'll take that on from a science perspective. You know, the Fermi paradox is all about where are they, if there is intelligent life out there. And you know, we're taking a good look at that. We hope to be able to find life beyond Earth, which will tell probably microbes, perhaps at Mars. Europa is another fabulous opportunity to look at life because of the environment seems to be just right. Once that occurs, we then have the feeling that life can be everywhere in our solar system. And then that next question is very pertinent. Where are they?
Somebody has to be first.
Yeah, and it might be us. But in reality, it might tell us something incredibly important, and that is intelligent life may not live long. And if we understand that, we might be able to think about our future differently. We might be able to, as a world, come together, as a world, trek out, go to Mars, and go beyond. And then we'll be the ones to visit other places.
There's an interesting paradox on the other side of that, which is if there is another life form that is intelligent enough to travel beyond its own interstellar boundaries, why would they want to hang out with us when we haven't even figured out how to get off our planet? You know, we're still aiming weapons back in our own territory. So, you know.
There's like a million answers to that. I just wanted to hear.
Right on. Yes.
Hey guys.
I think that's a very dismal thought.
I don't like it either.
All you got to do is have term limits.
The representative of the Lantern Corps.
Hey guys, I'm Peter. It's so cool to be here and talk to you guys. Really quick, wanted to ask Buzz and Mike, what was a personal dream that you guys had before going into space? How did that dream change once you got into space? And what would you say to the kids of today who are dreaming about going to space?
I don't know that I personally had dreams about what might happen.
Because it really is what you did that helped inspire people for it to be possible.
I had a horrible dream last night.
Was it about this panel?
Yeah, one of my dreams was just to go into space and be like Buzz, and that came true. And then my dream after that was to do it again, and then my dream after that was to do it again, because it's really amazing, and the inspiration or the message for the future explorers out there. And it doesn't matter what your dream is. Maybe your dream's flying in space. It's not for everyone, but it's really cool. But if you, whatever your dream is, you got to go for it. We are in a really awesome land and a time of opportunity. There is the whole brilliant future out for all of us, and we just need to work towards our dreams and not be not fall for the setbacks, and really go for them. And they will. It takes a lot more hard work than Walt Disney wants to sell, but it does require a lot of hard work. But your dreams can come true. I got to go fly in space a couple times. I got to be a lot like Buzz. He's taller, but those things can happen. And so don't sell yourself short. Dream big.
Did you realize if you go to Mars, you don't have to go again?
Yes, from the rainbow dash in the front.
Hi, the microphone. Okay, there we go.
You can make it your own.
Yeah.
Move it wherever you want.
Hi, I'm Natalie, and first off, wow, I cannot believe I'm in the presence of you guys. That just makes me want to totally freak out. So I'm gonna...
That's what Comic-Con's about, right?
Yes, that is. So I'm gonna try not to freak out. My question is to Buzz Aldrin. What was your first thought when you first stepped on the moon?
Was it don't trip?
Man, some of you may have heard this before. This way you're laughing. I could look down my window, see, and I could see Neil kind of prancing around. So I knew the checklist really didn't have to be followed completely, because it said when you get down to the bottom of the ladder, that's after you jump back up to make sure you can get to that bottom rung. Then you said to hold on and check your balance. I knew I didn't need to do that, but I had a sense down in the lower part of my torso that maybe it was a time to check the leakage of the UCD.
The urine collection device.
Somebody has to have a first.
Thank you.
We only have a couple minutes left.
Okay. Hi, my name is Yvonne, and I'm here because my husband is freaks out with Buzz Aldrin, and he couldn't come here because he will start probably crying. Okay, so he wants to know if there was a shuttle right now that is getting gassed up to go to Mars. Will you jump on it, Buzz?
As long as you could come back.
Yes.
What about shuttle?
Would you go to Mars if there was a for sure round trip?
I'm not an outdoorsman. I'm not that kind of a guy. No, I really, I do think I do a better job here for the future of our country, staying right where I am, just using this and thinking about guys going there.
And you do. Thank you for letting us dream.
Are we doing one more, two more? Okay. Two more. You should decide amongst yourselves who the last question is.
Hi, my name is Joseph, and one thing I want to say is that while Comic-Con is big into imaginary superheroes, I'm honored to be here the first time we have real live superheroes. My question is that, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, get the question if we got one.
Okay, the question is, we know that NASA's working on a human-rated crew exploration vehicle, but we also know that due to political situations, Russia has stopped U.S. access to the Soyuz craft to get to the space station in the future. Will NASA have their human-rated program functioning and ready by the time that occurs? And what can the people in this audience do to tell their politicians that we want it to happen?
From the politics side, it's less about us, I think, because all of our disagreements are, it's so complicated. And by all accounts, the Soyuz is like getting into a car accident with a truck, by the way, from what I hear. So the way it hits the ground, every astronaut stepped out of it just like, ah. So, but do you want to talk about that, what NASA's doing in the meantime?
Real quick, because we're running out of time, but we have a great relationship with Russians in space. In fact, it's one of the symbols of our two countries able to work together. And if we can work together, then then the rest of the planet can work together. So let's we definitely keep that in mind. The Russians still letting us fly on Soyuz. We have another launch coming up pretty soon, and we're still planning on flying with them. We have the commercial crew program that's going to get us in 2017 to low Earth orbit to the space station. So that's going to happen with one or two or three of companies that have been working on it. And then we got the crew exploration vehicle, Orion, right? Right. Orion's really awesome. It's going to take us beyond low Earth orbit to the moon, moon orbits, lunar space, as well as to this asteroid that we talked about with the asteroid redirect mission. And eventually, the Orion's going to be able to take us to Mars. So these things are, things are happening. They're happening now, and it's not theoretical. It's real, and it's real exciting.
That's actually a really great point. Just speaking about the international cooperation of the space station, it really is the greatest symbol of how well people from all different places on this planet with all different beliefs and philosophies can work together to achieve a single goal, which is human, further exploration of space and human preservation. All right, one more.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and my question is, I know you guys have talked a lot about Mars and going back to going to low Earth orbit, but are there any plans to go back to the outer solar system and to send more orbiting probes to Uranus and Neptune?
Something like a Voyager kind of thing?
Yeah, indeed.
Like
right now we have a
Galileo.
spacecraft called Juno that's well on its way to Jupiter, and in 2016 we're going to insert it in orbit, and we're going to see some fabulous vistas from that spacecraft. We have another spacecraft called Dawn that's using the first set of ion engines for scientific purposes, making its way to a huge asteroid, the largest asteroid, called Ceres. And that will happen in March of next year. In July of next year, we're going to fly by the Pluto system, and we're going to be able to see what these outer regions of our solar system look like. Now, we have another set of missions that are on the books that we're working on. We're talking about going to Europa, and we would like to see that happen. And so stay with us.
Is that to me? Is that for me? Okay. Great, good. I've done this right then. Okay, guys, this is the end of it, but we have a special surprise for you. Wife of Apollo 12, Pete Conrad, Nancy Conrad, is here. Is Nancy here?
Hi, everybody. As some of you may know, I'm the chair and founder of the Conrad Foundation, and We host a global competition for students from the age of 13 to 25, and we invite you to create commercially viable products using STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and we work in 4 categories: energy, cyber, aerospace, and health. And this year, in partnership with NASA, this is so exciting, we are offering a special competition called Giant Leap to Mars. And the Giant Leap, of course, is the bow to the 45th anniversary of our lunar landings. And as most of you know, my late husband was the 3rd guy to walk on the moon right after Buzz. And his first words were, whoopee. That's a whole other story. Go look it up. So part of Giant Leap to Mars, which is just, I'm so excited to share this with you guys, is the word inspiration came up today, and we've been talking about Mars. So we're going to invite you to come into our competition. Just sign up. It's on conradawards.org. It's all on the internet, to create a comic book, okay? I published one 20 years ago called Moonshot, the Flight of Apollo 12, and I dragged Pete Conrad here, and he said he'd come for a day, and we were here for 5. We had a blast. And so you guys are going to have your own moonshot. You're going to be able to write a comic book and create the art and the story and talk about the technology and the human factors that it would take to go to Mars. You can also do that without writing a comic book and just come into the competition and address those issues as well in our standard Spirit of Innovation challenges. We are launching today, so don't miss this opportunity to be at Comic-Con with your own comic book. How cool is that?
Yeah. Well, guys, we are on the wrap-up. I just want to say thank you so much for everybody for coming here and sharing this with us. If we could give a special thanks to all our panelists. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great Comic-Con.